Oh.
He can smell the biscuits up there. He's got such a nose for food. I'm Carolyn Robb, the Royal Chef, former chef to Prince Charles, Princess Diana, Prince William and Prince Harry. I'm making melting moments, which are wonderful little shortbread biscuits with a flavoured filling, and I'm doing two variations. I'm going to do pecan with dulce de leche filling, and I'm also doing a cappuccino biscuit, which is coffee with a chocolate filling. This recipe is a family favourite. It goes back many generations in my family. When I cooked for the royal family, it also became a favourite, cooking them for William and Harry, for nursery teas, and also for adult afternoon teas. During my time as a royal chef, I was really lucky because I was invited to quite a few garden parties at Buckingham Palace. Each year, Her Majesty the Queen hosts 4 garden parties, 3 of them at Buckingham Palace, and each one has 8,000 guests attending. I have one of my very treasured invitations here from one of the garden parties that I attended. This garden party I remember especially well because it's one that I attended with my mother. She came with me. It was an incredibly wet day. My abiding memory of this party is many, many ladies with very droopy hats. As you know, everybody attending a garden party wears a very special hat. But at the end of a rainstorm, there were a lot of droopy feathers on hats. This melting moment recipe is brilliant because you can do so many different variations. So today I'm going to start with the basic dough. I'm going to start by creaming together the butter and the icing sugar. Then after that, I'm going to add in the flour and custard powder. I'm not sure whether custard powder is readily available in the States, but if not, it can be replaced by cornstarch. Process this until it's the texture of coarse breadcrumbs, and then I'm going to take it out, tip it into a bowl, blend it together by hand, and then I'm going to divide the mixture in half, and to half of it I'm going to add ground pecans, and to the other half some coffee powder. I became chef to Prince Charles and Princess Diana after I had spent 2 years as chef to their Royal Highnesses the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Both families lived at Kensington Palace, which is a very large palace with lots of separate apartments where lots of different members of the royal family lived at the time. I was very fortunate. I feel very much that I was in the right place at the right time. First time I cooked for Prince Charles and Princess Diana was when they came for dinner with the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. And shortly after that, I was very fortunate to be invited to go for an interview. Initially, I met Princess Diana and had a quick interview with her where we spent much time talking about William and Harry and the things that they loved to eat. That went well, so after that I was invited to go down to Highgrove where I cooked dinner for both of their Royal Highnesses. First I'm going to make the pecan cookie dough. So I'm going to put the pecans in there and grind them. And now I'm going to add half of this cookie dough back in there. My very first Christmas as a royal chef, when I was cooking for the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, I was invited to go with the family to Windsor for Christmas. Not as a chef, but I went as the Duchess's dresser, as her dresser was unable to accompany her. This was quite scary for me, particularly as I had grown up in South Africa wearing shorts and flip-flops and knew nothing about taking care of wonderful, expensive clothes and ball gowns. On Christmas morning, the Queen is absolutely incredible because she spends about 2 hours handing out gifts to every member of staff who is there. Not only her own personal staff, but members of staff who accompanied all the other members of the royal family. I remember well standing up and shaking her hand and wishing her a happy Christmas, and she gave me a wonderful little bar of lavender soap, which I kept for many years and treasured. Speaking of Christmas, these melting moments are also perfect for a Christmas Day afternoon tea. Now I'm going to make the coffee dough, so I'm going to put this back into my Magimix. I'm going to add in some coffee powder. They're going to be nice and strong. When this is processed, it's the texture of coarse breadcrumbs, and now I'm going to bring it together by hand, because if you process it for too long, the biscuits can be really hard and chewy. We have our 2 different doughs ready. This one on the left is the pecan, and this one is the coffee. Now I'm going to roll these out and then they'll be ready to bake. I'm taking a very small little piece of dough about the size of a walnut, rolling it between the palms of my hands and then gently flattening it before I pop it on the baking tray. I was really fortunate while I was working for Prince Charles and Princess Diana to be invited to Prince William's confirmation service, which was held at St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. It was a very small confirmation service. There weren't very many people there other than close family and godparents. The Queen was there. It was really lovely to see her there in her capacity as a grandmother rather than being there as in an official capacity as the Queen. She had a wonderful time and it was very clear to see how much all her grandchildren and great-grandchildren absolutely adored her. After the confirmation service there was a lovely confirmation tea. I think that something like this is absolutely perfect to be made for any intimate family celebration, be it a confirmation service, a christening, a wedding. I've almost finished rolling these. The next step is to make a pattern on the top. What I'm going to use today is an old-fashioned cotton reel. This is something that I learnt from my mother when she made these biscuits. She always used to do the same. Before you use the cotton reel, it's always good to dip it into a little flour, just so it doesn't stick. Yeah, it's an old-fashioned one that has a nice shape, so it leaves a really nice pattern on the top of the biscuit. I'm going to set these aside while I roll the coffee ones and then we'll bake them all at the same time. I'm repeating the same process. I'm rolling them between the palms of my hands to create a nice little ball and then gently flatten it out. Now I'm going to put a design on the top of these, just using a fork. I'm going to do a little cross mark on the top. Going to preheat the oven to 180 degrees centigrade. Now I'm going to put these into the preheated oven and they cook for 8 to 12 minutes. While the biscuits are in the oven cooking, I'm going to make the filling. For the coffee biscuits, I'm going to make a delicious chocolate buttercream, and the pecan biscuits have a dulce de leche filling, so I don't need to make that because I use a commercially produced one. This is very simple buttercream, so I've got some salted butter, icing sugar, cocoa powder and a little bit of vanilla extract. I'm going to start by putting the butter into the Maggi mix and then I'm going to process that to soften it. And then I'll add the icing sugar, the cocoa powder and the vanilla and keep processing it until it's nice and smooth and creamy. Now these are out of the oven, I'm going to leave them to cool. And then I'm going to sandwich these pecan ones together with my dulce de leche, and I'm going to sandwich the coffee ones together with some chocolate buttercream. This is one of my favourite bowls to use. It had a Christmas pudding in, which I was given as a gift when I was working for Prince Charles. The last thing to do is to dust these with some icing sugar and then I've got to put them on a plate ready to serve them. And I have some other flavours too that I made earlier. This is such a versatile recipe, you can add any flavourings you like. So I also have some little chocolate melting moments with a peppermint filling and some tangerine melting moments with a delicious passion fruit buttercream.
Oh.
He can smell the biscuits up there, he's got such a nose for food. A few times if I'm making a sandwich for the girls or something, I get the bread and put it on the breadboard over there, go to the refrigerator to get out the cheese and the butter and come back and, sure, I put some bread on there. And he steals the bread and he used to be able to get through the cat flap in the back door and then he shoots off down the garden with that. We always need to be careful when Rupert's in the kitchen. He can jump really high, he grabs things off the counter. Yeah, he's a little monkey. I'm going to try one of these pecan and dulce de leche melting moments. That is really good. These are a perfect size. They're just 1 or 2 bite-sized. Brilliant for afternoon tea. Great to serve around the holidays as well. You can change around the fillings and the flavours. The texture of the biscuit is short, it's buttery, it's crispy, and the filling obviously is really unctuous and luxurious, as dulce de leche always is. For anyone who loves their cappuccino, these are delicious. There's a real hit of coffee in the nice crispy melting moment biscuit, and the filling is a lovely rich chocolate buttercream. The recipe for these melting moments you'll find in my cookbook, The Royal Touch. For a different variation, you'll also find the recipe in my new cookbook, Tea at the Palace. I hope you'll try making these at home and then sharing them with friends and family over a great cup of tea.